In the kingdom of Lunaria, where moonlight kissed silver towers and music once drifted through marble halls, a princess was born into both love and loss. Princess Ophelia Aurelia Lunaris entered the world on a night when the stars sang softly, so softly that only the heavens seemed to hear. The palace bells rang in joy, yet before the echoes could fade, grief settled like a heavy veil. Her mother, Queen Seraphina, whose laughter had been the kingdom's brightest melody, died moments after bringing Ophelia into the world. The king, Alaric Lunaris, was never the same again. He had loved Seraphina not as kings loved queens, but as poets loved muses, as sailors loved the sea. Her death hollowed him. He vowed before her tomb of white lilies and moonstone that he would never marry again. His heart, he declared, had been buried with her. So Ophelia grew up as the only child, the only heir, the only future of Lunaria. From the time she could walk, the court reminded her who she was meant to be. Stand straight, Your Highness. Speak with authority. A queen does not sing, she commands. But Ophelia had been born with her mother's voice. When she was small, she sang to the moon from her balcony. She hummed to the roses in the palace gardens. She sang to herself when she felt lonely, which was often. The palace was grand, but it was quiet. Too quiet music to her was not rebellion. It was breathing, yet King Alaric could not hear it that way. Every note Ophelia sang reminded him of Seraphina, the way her voice used to fill the halls, the way it once made him believe joy could last forever. And so, unknowingly, he tried to silence what he could not bear to lose again. By the time Ophelia turned 13, her days were no longer her own. Mornings began with diplomacy lessons, followed by history, economics, warfare, and law. Afternoons were spent observing court proceedings, learning the language of power. Studying maps of lands she would one day rule, she was brilliant. She learned quickly, spoke wisely, and listened carefully. The court praised her intelligence, her composure, her grace. But none of them saw the way her fingers tapped silent rhythms beneath the table. None of them noticed how her eyes lingered on traveling musicians when they passed through Lunaria's gates. At night, Ophelia would sneak into the unused west wing of the palace, where dust-covered mirrors and forgotten chandeliers slept beneath white sheets. There, she sang softly, carefully, afraid her voice might travel. Music was her secret rebellion. Her father noticed the change in her, though he misunderstood its cause. "You are distracted," King Alaric told her one evening, as they dined beneath a painted ceiling of constellations.
A ruler must
be focused. "I am focused," Ophelia replied gently. "On what?" he asked. She hesitated. "The future," she said, because it was not a lie. Just not the whole truth. On Ophelia's 10th birthday, the palace glowed with lanterns of gold and pearl. Nobles traveled from distant kingdoms bearing jewels and silks, but the gift that changed her life arrived quietly. Her grandmother, Lady Elowin, had not lived at court for years. Some whispered she was eccentric. Others said she was dangerous. Ophelia thought she was wonderful. Lady Elowin smelled of lavender and old stories. Her eyes sparkled like secrets. She led Ophelia away from the celebration into a private chamber and placed a velvet-trapped object into her hands. A microphone? Ophelia laughed softly, but it was unlike any microphone she had ever seen. The metal shimmered as though it held starlight inside it. "This," Elowin said, "is a magic mic." Ophelia smiled indulgently. "Grandmother, it comes with a manual," Elowin continued calmly, handing her a thin, glowing book. "Spells of transformation, protection, disguise." Ophelia hugged her grandmother, touched but unconvinced. A toy, she thought. A beautiful one, but still a toy. She placed it carefully in her room and returned to her royal duties, unaware that destiny had just been placed in her hands. Weeks later, everything shattered. Ophelia had secretly enrolled in a private music class held by a traveling instructor in the city. For the first time, she sang freely, loudly, fearlessly. But secrets do not stay secrets in palaces. When King Alaric discovered the truth, his disappointment burned hotter than anger.
You are forbidden from singing
Forever, he declared. Forever, the words crushed her. That night, Ophelia locked herself in her chamber. She cried until her chest ached, until the walls felt too close, until the silence became unbearable. That was when she saw the mic. She picked it up, her hands trembling, and opened the manual, not in belief, but in desperation. Spell of Becoming, she read aloud. She laughed bitterly. Why not? She whispered the words. She sang the final line. The room exploded with light. Her gown transformed into shimmering pop star couture. Her crown dissolved into glowing headphones. Her reflection stared back at her, bold, radiant, powerful. She gasped. Magic had answered her voice. Princess Ophelia stood frozen before the mirror, her breath shallow, her heart pounding so loudly she was certain the palace guards would hear it through the stone walls. But the guards did not come, because standing in the mirror was no longer the heir of Lunaria. Standing there was someone else entirely. She lifted a trembling hand to her lips. I look like a dream, she whispered. The magic mic rested warm in her palm, pulsing softly as if alive. Ophelia's laughed, a sound so light and free it startled her. She turned, watching how the outfit moved with her, how her reflection smiled back without hesitation, without fear. Slowly, she raised the mic, and she sang, not quietly, not carefully. She sang fully. Her voice filled the chamber, strong and melodic, echoing against marble and velvet curtains. She danced, spinning across the floor, performing for the only audience that had ever truly mattered herself. In that moment, she was not a princess, she was not an heir. She was not a future queen, bound by duty. She was music. She stopped suddenly, laughing breathlessly, and stared into the mirror again. If I were a pop star, she said slowly, tasting the idea, my name would be Lia Nova. The mirror shimmered faintly, as if approving. That night, for the first time in her life, Ophelia slept without dreaming of expectations. The next morning, sunlight poured into the palace as usual. Princess Ophelia attended her lessons, spoke with advisors, listened patiently to matters of state. No one noticed anything unusual except Owen Lunaris, her cousin, her best friend, and one of the few people who knew her laughter before she learned restraint. He noticed the way she smiled to herself, the way her steps felt lighter. That evening, she pulled him aside. I have to show you something, she whispered in her chamber, with the door locked and curtains drawn. Ophelia held up the mic. Owen raised an eyebrow. Is this another secret instrument? Just watch. She took a breath, she sang the spell, light exploded once more. Owen stumbled backward, eyes wide, jaws slack by the stars. He breathed. Before him stood Lia Nova. Ophelia, no, Lia whirled once, grinning nervously. I know it sounds impossible, but this is the greatest thing that has ever happened, Owen interrupted, laughing in disbelief. She stared at him. You're not afraid? Afraid? He shook his head. Ophelia, you can actually live your dream, but my father, he will never know, Owen said gently. No one will. You look nothing like the princess they expect. And I'll help you. I'll be your manager, he'd said proudly. Every pop star needs one. She hesitated, fear flickering across her face. Then she looked at the mic, at herself, at the life she had tasted. Even if only for one night, she nodded, and so, 2 lives began. Lia Nova did not rise slowly, she rose like a comet. Her first performances were small hidden clubs, private halls, invitation, only gatherings where mystery was currency. Owen handled everything: disguises, travel, rumors, contracts signed under aliases. Lia Nova's voice did the rest. Her songs spoke of longing and light, of hidden dreams and unspoken love. People felt seen when she sang. They felt brave within months. Her name was everywhere. Lia Nova, posters, headlines, whispers. She looks like Princess Ophelia, people often said. Ophelia would hear it in passing at court, her heart leaping painfully each time. But no one ever connected the truth because Princess Ophelia was flawless. She ruled council meetings with wisdom beyond her years. She mediated disputes. She spoke to the people with sincerity. King Alaric watched her with quiet pride, believing she had finally accepted her destiny. "I see your mother in you," he told her once. The words hurt and healed at the same time. Then came the betrothal. Lord Cassian Valacrest was everything a future prince consort should be. Handsome, noble, kind. He treated Ophelia not as a symbol, but as a person, and he loved her. He noticed how her eyes lit up when music played, how she hummed without realizing it. "You love music," he said one evening. She froze. Yes," she admitted softly. "For your 18th birthday," Cassian smiled, "I want to give you something unforgettable." And so he decided to give her something no royal tradition ever could. He summoned Owen, Lia Nova's elusive manager. "To a private audience, I want Lia Nova to perform at the princess's birthday," Cassian said warmly. It would mean everything to her. Owen's heart nearly stopped. He kept his expression neutral, but inside, panic thundered like drums. "That won't be possible," Owen replied quickly. Cassian frowned slightly. "Why not?"
"Why not?"
"Lia Nova does not perform at private royal events," Owen said, choosing his words carefully. "She prefers public stages." Cassian leaned forward. "Name your price." Owen shook his head. "It's not about money." Cassian studied him, then smiled. "I won't give up," he said simply. That night, destiny sharpened its blade. Cassian attended Lia Nova's concert under disguise. But royalty could never truly hide. The guards recognized him instantly and ushered him backstage. Lia Nova had just stepped off stage, her heart still racing from the roar of the crowd. Then she saw him. The blood drained from her face. Cassian Valacrest, her betrothed, stood only a few steps away. "Lia Nova," he said, smiling softly. "You're even more extraordinary up close." She couldn't look at him. Her voice would betray her. "I came to ask you again," Cassian continued. "Will you perform at Princess Ophelia's birthday?" Her hands trembled around the mic. She wanted to refuse. She wanted to disappear. But the moment stretched, dangerous and exposed. Crew members hovered nearby, listening. So she nodded. "Yes," she whispered. The word echoed louder than any scream. By morning, the world knew. Lia Nova to perform at Princess Ophelia's birthday. The internet exploded, and Ophelia's two lives began to collapse into one. Backstage buzzed with excitement, stylists calling out names, assistants rushing with headsets, lights warming for the next rehearsal. But none of that noise reached Owen. He had heard only one thing: yes. He spun toward her the moment the word left her lips. "What did you just do?" he hissed, grabbing her arm and pulling her away from the others. Lia Nova's confident stage glow shattered instantly. Her shoulders slumped and fear rushed into her eyes. "Why did you accept this?" Owen demanded, his voice low but furious.
Do you realize what you've just agreed to?
She swallowed hard. "I didn't have a choice," she whispered. Cassian was standing right there. He was looking at me. I was scared he'd recognize me. My voice, my face, something. I panicked. Owen dragged a hand through his hair, pacing. "This is bad. This is very bad, I know," she said, her voice breaking. "I didn't mean for it to happen like this." Silence fell between them, heavy, suffocating. Then Owen stopped pacing. "Okay," he said slowly. "We think—" She looked up. "When it's time for Lia Nova to perform," he continued, "Princess Ophelia will suddenly fall ill." Her eyes widened. "A stomach ache, yes. She excuses herself." The court panics for a moment. Then, he snapped his fingers. Lia Nova appears. Ophelia nodded slowly. I'll transform. I'll perform. No one will question it. It sounded clever. It sounded safe. But fate was never fooled by clever plans later that evening. Princess Ophelia stood in the palace garden beneath glowing lanterns when Cassian approached her, smiling like a boy with a secret. You won't believe how hard it was, he said. She tilted her head.
How hard
what was? To convince Lia Nova to perform at your birthday, he said proudly. Her manager refused me again and again. But I didn't give up because I know how much music means to you. Her heart clenched. You did all that for me? I would do far more, Cassian said softly. You deserve joy, Ophelia. The sincerity in his voice undid her. She felt suddenly small, guilty, unworthy, because he loved her truthfully. While she stood before him wrapped in lies, I need to tell you something, she said suddenly.
What is it?
Cassian's smile faded, replaced by concern. What is it? They moved away from the crowd into the quiet of the garden, and there, beneath the moonlight, Princess Ophelia told him everything about her mother, about her father's ban on singing, about the magic mic, about Lia Nova, about the 2 lives she had been living. Cassian listened without interrupting. When she finished, tears streamed down her face. I'm sorry, she whispered. I never meant to deceive you. He stepped forward and pulled her into his arms. Oh, Ophelia, he murmured. Do you know how strong you are? She stiffened. You're not angry? How could I be? He cupped her face gently. Living 2 lives, carrying 2 worlds, and still being this kind. That isn't deceit. That's survival. She broke down completely then, sobbing into his chest, but as the tears faded, reality returned. How will you perform on your birthday? Cassian asked. If you leave the hall, people will talk. They'll suspect something. She nodded. That's what I was afraid of. Cassian fell silent, thinking, then his eyes lit up. Then we don't let Princess Ophelia disappear. The night of Princess Ophelia's 18th birthday arrived draped in splendor. The palace of Lunaria shimmered beneath a sky heavy with stars, each one reflected in crystal chandeliers and polished marble floors. Gold-lined arches framed the grand hall, where nobles from distant kingdoms gathered in silks and jewels, their voices rising in soft excitement. Music floated gently through the air, refined and ceremonial, befitting an heir who had never once faltered in her duty. At the center of it all stood Princess Ophelia Lunaria. She was radiant in a gown of pale ivory, embroidered with moonstone threads that caught the light with every movement. A delicate crown rested upon her hair, her posture composed, her smile graceful. No one could see the storm beneath her calm. Hidden beneath the folds of her gown, pressed close to her heart, was the magic mic. It pulsed faintly, as though aware that tonight, more than any night before, would demand everything it had to give. Across the hall, King Alaric watched his daughter with pride. To him, she was perfection, poised, intelligent, strong, the living echo of a queen he had loved beyond words. Tonight, he believed, marked the final turning of her childhood into destiny. Beside Ophelia stood Cassian Valacrest, dressed in ceremonial navy and silver. His expression was warm, affectionate, but his eyes never left her face. He alone knew the truth. He alone understood the weight she carried. And he was ready. The celebration progressed as expected. Formal greetings, speeches, laughter. Then the herald's voice rang out, "Tonight, in honor of Her Royal Highness's 18th birthday, we are blessed with a performance by the one and only Lia Nova." A ripple of excitement surged through the hall. Ophelia felt her breath catch. This was it. Cassian turned to her. "Are you ready?" She swallowed. "As I'll ever be." She placed a hand against her stomach and winced slightly. "Cassian," she said softly, her voice trembling just enough to be believable, "I don't feel well." His concern was immediate. What is it? My stomach, she whispered. I think I need air. The timing was perfect. Cassian raised his voice just enough to be heard by nearby nobles. My apologies, he said calmly. The princess needs a moment. Murmurs spread, sympathetic and brief. No one questioned it. A princess was still human, after all. Cassian escorted Ophelia from the hall, his arms steady at her back. As the doors closed behind them, the music swelled inside, masking what came next. The corridor was empty. Silent, the moment they were alone, Ophelia straightened. She exhaled shakily. Now, Cassian nodded. She lifted the magic mic. The glow ignited instantly, brighter than before, spilling liquid light across the stone walls. Ophelia opened the spellbook with trembling fingers, flipping to a page she had never dared to read aloud until now. Spell of duplication, to divide the self, without dividing the soul. Her heart pounded. This has never been tested, she whispered. Cassian met her gaze. You're not alone. She closed her eyes and sang, the spell wrapped around her voice, weaving melody and magic together. The air thickened, shimmered, then split. Light folded in on itself, and from it stepped another figure. Another Princess Ophelia, identical in every way. Gown, crown, expression, breath. The duplicate blinked once, then smiled serenely as if she had always existed. Ophelia stared, awestruck. It worked, she breathed. Cassian recovered first. He offered his arm to the duplicate princess. Your Highness, he said smoothly. The clone took his arm without hesitation. As they turned back toward the grand hall, Ophelia raised the mic once more. Her gown transformed in a cascade of light ivory, melting into electric silver and midnight blue. The elegance of royalty reshaped into the bold glamour of the stage. Her crown dissolved into jeweled ear cuffs. Her hair fell free, alive with motion and confidence. Lia Nova stood where the princess had been. Cassian paused at the doorway. He looked at both of them, at duty and desire, crown and chorus. Then he smiled. Go, he whispered to Lia Nova inside the hall. Anticipation reached its peak. The doors opened. Cassian returned, escorting Princess Ophelia back to her place of honor. She smiled, waved lightly, settling beside the king once more. No one questioned a thing. Then the lights dimmed, a hush fell, and the stage ignited. Lia Nova stepped into the light. The reaction was instant and electric. Gasps. Applause. Ah! She stood tall, fearless, radiant. Every inch the superstar the world adored. The music surged, and when she sang, her voice soared higher than the chandeliers, richer than the orchestra. She sang of hidden dreams, of longing hearts, of women who carried worlds inside them and refused to be only one thing. The crowd was mesmerized. Even the royal families, accustomed to grandeur, leaned forward in wonder. King Alaric froze. Something about the voice struck him deeply. It stirred memories long buried, of moonlit nights and a queen who once sang softly to him. Tears filled his eyes, though he did not know why. When the song ended, the hall erupted. Cheers thundered. Applause roared. Lia Nova smiled. Radiant and untouchable, she stepped down from the stage, where nobles rushed forward, eager for a moment, a word, a photograph. She posed beside queens and princes, laughed with duchesses, accepted praise with grace. Cameras flashed. Whispers spread. She's extraordinary. She looks familiar, doesn't she? High above it all, Princess Ophelia's duplicate watched calmly from her seat. Smiling as though nothing unusual were happening, Cassian moved seamlessly between both worlds, guiding the clone, ensuring Lia Nova was never alone for too long. Watching the clock, at last, when the excitement reached its peak, he leaned toward the duplicate. Your Highness, he murmured, it's time. She nodded once more. Princess Ophelia excused herself, this time for privacy, for rest, for the quiet that followed spectacle. Cassian escorted her from the hall. The corridor waited. There, Lia Nova stood already. breathless but glowing. The moment the duplicate princess crossed the threshold, Ophelia raised the mic again. Princess Ophelia resumed her place, laughing, dancing, thanking guests, no one the wiser. The world had seen Lia Nova and Princess Ophelia on the same night, in the same palace, and never once questioned the impossible. The secret remained intact that night, as the final guests departed and the palace grew quiet. Ophelia stood alone on her balcony. The magic mic rested in her hands. She gazed out at Lunaria, her kingdom, her responsibility, her crown. And somewhere beyond its borders, Lia Nova's name echoed in the world. 2 lives, 1 soul, and for now, that was enough. Thanks for watching. If you're new to my channel, please do like, subscribe, and comment your favorite part. And to my returning subscribers, I love you.